If this Latvian city was proposed as a city today, I bet it wouldn't even make the cut. A city that has been occupied by more empires than its locals could count. A city built on a patch of land that has historically been a geopolitical hot potato, marred by wars, economic crashes, and identity crisis. Is Riga a strong symbol of resilience, or is it a warning about the problem in urban planning and geopolitics?
Welcome to Latvia. I hope I'm saying it right. First time here, ex-Soviet country, and we are here in the Flexibus. Not Flexibus, Flixbus. This is like the very first town that comes when you enter Latvia. We're gonna head all the way to Riga.
Let me be clear. I'm not dismissing Riga's cultural significance, but critically examining whether its location, history, and socio-economic realities make it a viable city in today's world. This video isn't a nostalgic in a glance of cobblestone streets, but a tough look at the realities of modern urbanization. Would Riga, as we know it, ever be considered for establishment today?
Welcome to Riga International Coach Terminal. We are in Latvia, country number 55. If you arrive by bus, then this is where you're gonna come, and this is the international bus station.
Riga's founding in 1201 by Albert von Buxhoeveden marked the beginning of an unending power struggle over the city. Its location on the Daugava River, a key trade route connecting the Baltic Sea to Russia, made it an irresistible target for conquest. Over the centuries, Riga has been ruled by the Livonian Order, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Sweden Imperial Russia, and the Soviet Union. Each regime brought both prosperity and ruin, often leaving the city to rebuild from ashes.
Welcome to the St. Peter's Church. Right behind me, you see a church that's not just a religious monument, but it's a symbol of resilience and the prosperity in Riga. This church has been built several times because of being destroyed by fire and in the bombings. It was built in 15th century, in the 17th century, and latest in the 19th century.
During the Northern Wars in the early 18th century, Riga was decimated, becoming a pawn in Sweden and Russia's grand geopolitical game. The two world wars further scarred the city, with the Nazi and Soviet occupation leaving deep wounds on its physical and social fabric. Post-World War II, though, Riga was subsumed into the Soviet Union, becoming an industrial hub at the cost of its cultural autonomy. Even today, Riga's strategic position in Eastern Europe makes it vulnerable to geopolitical tensions. The annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 sent shockwaves across Latvia, particularly in Riga, where a significant Russian-speaking minority, over 34.6% of the population, resides.
This is Taras Shevchenko, the famous Ukrainian poet, whose statue is here. And as you can see that in the Standing with Ukraine movement, they've put Ukrainian flags. Obviously, this being a Baltic country, we're seeing Ukrainian flags like everywhere, on the buildings, big ones, and on houses. People just all supporting, obviously, because what has happened to Ukraine could tomorrow happen to Latvia.
Riga's economy has always been precariously tied to the external factors. Historically, its port was the backbone of trade, connecting Northern Europe to Russia and beyond. But in today's globalized world, Riga's relevance as a trade hub has been left to dust. Larger, more modern ports in the other countries have outpaced it and left Riga to diversify its economy in a bid for survival. In 2021, Riga accounted for 52% of Latvia's GDP, a disproportionate share that underscores the country's dependence on its capital. This dependency makes the entire nation vulnerable to the economic shocks centered on Riga. For example, the 2008 financial crisis hit Riga particularly hard, leading to mass unemployment and an exodus of skilled workers. The city's over-reliance on services and transport industries was exposed, forcing policymakers to scramble for diversification. Compounding these challenges is Riga's demographic crisis. Latvia has one of the fastest shrinking population in Europe, and Riga reflects this trend. Since the 1990s, the city has seen a steady decline in its population as young, educated Latvians leave for better opportunities abroad. This brain drain not only reduces the city's tax base, but also raises questions about its long-term viability. How does a city sustain itself when its future generations are building their lives elsewhere? And yet, despite these challenges, living costs in Riga are rising.
So we have a confirmation from the Airbnb, and that is in the old town. It costs $650 for 5 nights. We're going to be here till Friday. It's a really beautiful, highly rated apartment with a lot of space and kitchen and everything. 4.97 rating. It's an apartment by Kate. It's in the old town. It's right next to the Riga Opera House.
For a city that struggles to attract and retain talent, the upward trajectory of housing and consumer prices is an alarming trend. Income stagnation in many sectors only exacerbates this issue, making it difficult for middle and lower income residents to thrive. Riga's environmental challenges are as significant as its economic woes. The Daugava River, once a lifeline for trade and sustenance, has been heavily polluted by decades of industrial activity. Water quality issues persist, affecting both human health and local ecosystems. Urban expansion has further encroached on natural habitats, reducing biodiversity and contributing to the urban heat island effect. The city's infrastructure is another glaring issue. Riga's historic charm, confined in its Art Nouveau buildings and cobblestone streets, comes with the cost of maintenance.
These are very important buildings from an architectural standpoint. That one is the most important one, the very first one on the corner that has all these statues and a lot of intricate work. And this one is a little bit dilapidated, but is also a good one. The only different thing about this one is that it's green in color. So all of these buildings were made in the 1990s, very, very important, and it's a place where everybody comes to appreciate the beauty of some of these buildings.
These aging structures require constant upkeep. The city's ancient layout, designed centuries ago, is ill-suited for modern needs, resulting in inefficient public transport, traffic congestion, and limited accessibility.
This is the mayor of the city Riga in 1912. His name is George Armistead. And then in this area you'll see a lot of buildings, like you could see that one over there. Even this one is getting restored, but it's an important building.
Meanwhile, urban sprawl has led to inefficient land use, with residential areas often far removed from employment hubs. This disconnect forces residents to rely heavily on personal vehicles, further exacerbating traffic and pollution problems. Efforts to modernize Riga's infrastructure have been slow, hindered by budget constraints and complexities of balancing preservation with progress.
All these big buildings, these used to be hangars back in the Soviet occupation, and now they're converted to central market where you can get a lot of things.
Anyway, here's a tricky question. How do you balance preserving history with making room for modern life? Riga's cultural heritage is undeniably rich. Its historic center, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a stunning display of medieval and Art Nouveau architecture.
Welcome to the heart of Riga, the town hall square. This is like the center of Riga and the heart of Riga, and in many ways it used to be the starting point of Riga, where those German trucks, running on that really thick diesel, producing all those fumes, would come right there from that bridge and then take a shortcut to cut through all of these areas and get to wherever they needed to get to But one thing to note is that a lot of it was destroyed. So this has just been reconstructed. It's not really original, but they've done a good job. It's kind of similar to when I went to Warsaw, or I was in Estonia as well. You'll see that their old town is actually a lot better. So out of the 3 Baltic countries, if I had to rate which one of these has the most well-preserved and the most beautiful old town, I'll tell you the answer. So the best one is Estonia. It was a lot of fun and very vibrant as well. It was really beautiful and amazing. Second best is Riga. And the third best is Vilnius.
Yet, this heritage comes at a cost. Preservation efforts often clash with the city's needs for functional, modern spaces. For example, regulation on building modification in the old town can delay or even derail projects aimed at improving urban livability. Tourism, while an economic boon, has also brought its share of problems. The influx of visitors has transformed parts of Riga into tourist-centric zones, leading to gentrification and the displacement of local communities. As luxury hotels and restaurants cater to foreign visitors, long-time residents are priced out of their own neighborhoods, eroding their city's cultural authenticity. This tension between preservation and progress raises an uncomfortable question. Is Riga becoming a museum city preserved for tourists at the expense of its residents? And if so, is that a sustainable model for urban life? If we look at Riga pragmatically, its viability as a modern city is questionable. Its geopolitical location is risky, its economy fragile, its infrastructure outdated, and its demographic trends worrying. Would we build Riga today if it didn't already exist? Or would its many challenges make us look elsewhere? More importantly, what can we learn from Riga? Are there other cities facing similar dilemma, balancing history with progress and culture with functionality? As you think about cities you visited or lived in, does Riga's stories feel familiar? Riga's survival is a testament to resilience, but it's also a cautionary tale. Building a city is one thing, sustaining one in a world that's constantly changing is another one. Thank you for watching till here. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next one, maybe with another question, mystery, or story. Until then, goodbye.